They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. They'll make a film about a man who's sad and lonely. And all they gotta do is act naturally. Well, I'll bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star.
Welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II, coming to you from the campus, Cleveland Community College, right here in the C19 TV studios. And there is a name for these studios, and we'll see if Uncle Buck over there beside camera one remembers the name of the studios. Do you remember the name of the studios?
The John O'Hara Studio.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You're good, man. That's
I'm
Greg.
in here every day, all day. How can I not?
That's Greg Tillman, otherwise known as Uncle Buck. 1989, you had a great film. It'd be a great way to kind of dive into the history lesson. We are going to talk about the history
Aren't you smooth?
history of 1989. Douglas Davidson back. We invited him to join us, and he remembers this year quite well. He was just a young wee lad, I think he said, when he was
Preschool? Something like that.
Oh, I was out of preschool by then. I was at least first grade.
Douglas Davidson, you can check out his website, elementsofmadness.com. Also a voting member of the North Carolina Film Critics Association and SEFCA, the Southeastern Film Critics Association. Glad to have you back, man.
Thanks for having me. This is an unreal year in cinema for me. So thank you.
1989.
1989.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is, I'm excited to discuss it.
Well, yeah, when I asked you to join me and I said, hey, let's look at the films of 1989, you were just like, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, for me, it was a memorable year because I had just moved to this area in 1988, so the fall of 1988. So as we transitioned into 89 and that summer of 89, I remember it quite well. A lot of people I got to meet as friends in college, still friends today, including one that I'm married to, Beth Lamb Manning.
Well, it's good you're friends.
Yeah,
with your wife.
Yeah, I've got 5 friends, and so you know, they're still, you know, one of them. Okay,
And
one
I'm
of
not
them.
one of them, by the
Okay,
way.
one of them came out of college, but it was a great year for me, and a great year for film, as you mentioned. And I love going back and reminiscing and thinking about some of these. And we'll start off with Greg. I'm gonna let you. Whoa! Before we do that, I just got a notification in my ear. Tim, are you running things today? Yeah, there he is. Sorry. Thanks for reminding me. You got your liquid of resonant. 5. You've seen 5 films in your life. Why not just do that instead of that? I mean, it's the same thing. What is that thing, man?
He was a
is right there.
broadcasting major, not a math major. And by the way, I'm more worried about what's in your ear, because we don't have those here.
Yes, we do. You just can't see them, man.
I'm thinking of Wrath of Khan and, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't from
Chekhov.
1989, but yeah, I think that was Star Trek: The Final Frontier.
No,
was
no,
from 89.
that was 85. I was going to mention that.
What are you?
No, it's not a good movie, but I was going to mention it, because I figured that wouldn't be on your list.
Well, go ahead and mention it.
Star Trek V, the Final Frontier, that almost ruined the franchise.
Exactly.
Shatner's directorial debut and finale, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it's
No.
not. I don't think it's quite as bad as people remember being. There are some nice set pieces in it, and they basically capture the chemistry. You know, the line, "What does God need a starship for?" You know, that's a good line. So it's not a good movie. But I thought I'd mention it.
Well, so that's
just
good.
to be the oddball here.
That's good. You know, mentioning
Yeah,
one
all
that's
right.
not really a good movie, but still came out in 1989.
Yeah.
All right, Douglas, give me one off your list, worthy of remembering.
Well, and we talked about it the last time I was here just because of the 80th anniversary and what have you, but I can't talk about 1989 without talking about Batman.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot. I know I'm going to get flack for it. I know I'm going to get flack for it because I was so young, but at the end of 89, I was turning 9 years old. But Batman at the age of 8 was the first film I ever saw by myself in the theater.
Yeah.
That film still holds up to this day.
Yeah.
The remaster they did is honestly beautiful. There are colors in this film that I never remember
Wow.
seeing. And if you go back to the Blu-ray, you'll go, wait, there was purple in that smoke. And
Yeah.
just some of the detail work that they did in the remaster is fantastic. That doesn't matter how old I get, I can go back to that film and feel exactly like I did in the theater.
Yeah,
It is phenomenal.
Greg shared a great article just a little while ago about the impact that this movie had on the superhero genre and how it really did kind of change the complexion of what was to come. The challenges that were there, not just, we talked about Michael Keaton being cast, but also the challenges of, you got Tim Burton being brought in to be a director for this, and there was a lot of worry about what that would bring to this franchise as well. Once Jack Nicholson signed on, a lot of those fears kind of subsided because they
had
said,
his
okay,
presence
yeah.
and his talent,
Yeah.
the gravitas with Nicholson.
Yeah. I will throw out a film that that has significance for me. Speaking of weddings, this was not a wedding song, a wedding movie for me, but it was the first date. Field of Dreams. It was released the day that my wife graduated from Gardner Webb, and so I took her out somewhere to eat. I don't even remember where we went. It may have been like Wendy's dollar menu, but I do remember we
You
went
went
to
all
see,
out, didn't you?
But I do
No wonder you
remember
turned her head.
We went to Gastonia to see Field of Dreams. And that movie I just always loved, and a lot of times it's not necessarily, are the movies great or are they not, but it's that moment and those things you can remember about your life and those kind of flag in the ground moments that like, okay, I remember when. And that's how it was with a lot of films in 1989 for me. Some of them may have not held up as well as others, but I think about who I was with and what was going on in my life. But Field of Dreams, I still really love that movie. In many ways, there are elements of it that haven't held up, but the story has. And Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones, and just so many elements of the fantasy life told through this guy that's being called to build a baseball stadium in his cornfield in Iowa. What? It's just kind of nuts when you look at it, but the messages within that film are pretty solid, and I still love Field of Dreams.
When Harry Met Sally, the Citizen Kane of romantic comedies. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I mean, there's pitch perfect from beginning to end. The script, the direction, the casting. Just a great story, and I think it holds up well.
Absolutely.
And still very funny.
Yeah, the chemistry between Crystal and Ryan,
Yeah,
just so solid.
yeah.
Just so solid, and it is a film that still to this day is worth watching.
And not only because of the cast that's in it. I mean, you've got Carrie Fisher in the supporting role, and she's fantastic. But particularly the fact that with the way that they bookend it, the fact that they're using it as a way to interview other couples, I think also helps with the longevity of it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that not just as a romantic comedy of these two people coming together, but the fact that it's looking at different age groups and different stages of their own relationships. And that's something that we can all, at whatever point we are, sort of connect with.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree. I actually saw it in full beyond the I'll have what she's having moment. A little over 10 years ago, my wife is a fan. Surprisingly, she doesn't really like romantic comedies. But she'd seen it, she said, you need to watch this. And it absolutely holds up.
Yeah.
It absolutely holds up.
And the directing really was
Yeah.
solid on
Oh,
that
yeah,
movie.
very much.
As well. All right, what else is on your list, Douglas?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. Apparently, I'm in a minority as a fan of this when we were talking about it ahead of time. Ghostbusters 2. I absolutely adore this film for a number of reasons. It breaks a few hearts to hear that Ghostbusters 1 scared me a lot as a kid. And when we talk about how a movie makes us feel,
Yeah.
the second one, and I own the soundtrack for the second one. I was listening to On
There's a
Our Own
soundtrack
by...
to the second one?
There is a soundtrack. Bobby Brown, On Our Own, absolutely. That one was more marketing. That one was more marketing than the first one.
Yeah,
Run DMC, I think, does the Ghostbusters remix
Okay.
of this. So you really get a sense of that era as well on the soundtrack. But
I don't feel so bad about mentioning Star Trek 5 now, but okay, I'm sorry.
I
didn't
saw
mean to
that in the
interrupt.
theater, by the way. I did and enjoyed it. But with Ghostbusters 2, it's a completely different film than the first one was.
Yeah.
It was more horror than it was comedy, and it works incredibly well. But for some reason, for me, who tends to lean more towards comedy than horror in a lot of everything anyway, I just loved the jokes. I loved the timing of it and bringing these people back together who, for the most part, you could almost tell didn't really care how well it went. They were just having fun.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think as well as Ghostbusters 1 holds up, I think Ghostbusters 2 does, and it gets a bad rap.
Okay.
I absolutely do.
Well, I will check it out again. It's been a long time.
I haven't seen it in 30 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
on a slow day.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Might pick you up on a slow day.
Well, I'm gonna mention a film that's got connections to this area. It was shot in Gaffney, South Carolina. The movie is called The Abyss. It was really a special effects phenomenon. And the theatrical version that hit theaters late in the summer of 1989 was not the version that James Cameron, who directed this, wanted to see on screen. But he had some issues with Fox, and they wanted to release it in August. He wanted to take some more time with it. Finally, it was like, okay, I'm done. Go ahead, do whatever you're going to do. And then years later, when the version, the director's cut, came out, you really got a chance to see the story that Cameron was trying to tell. And really, I've gone back and I've watched both versions, and I think if anybody's never seen The Abyss, go back and watch it, but watch that director's cut, because it's a long film, and it was long in theaters anyway, even before that director's extra 20 minutes of footage. But that extra 20 minutes of footage really helps to further the story and enhance the story. But the effects with the morphing technology, the digital technology, that was really in its infancy then. Only a few other films had done something like that before. But not to that extent, and that paved the way for what happened just a few years later with the Terminator 2. So if you haven't seen The Abyss, I highly recommend it. Ed Harris in that, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio in this. Cameron directed. It was shot at a studio owned by Earl Owensby. And
In Gaffney, right?
In Gaffney, South Carolina. And after that, Earl had a few issues with Fox because they weren't wanting to pay the bills. So The Abyss on my list of films from '89.
I'm going to bring this up, and I haven't seen. Well, I haven't seen it since '89, and I don't still know what to think of it. What do you think of Back to the Future 2? I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it.
I enjoy it quite a bit. I actually liked that one more, I think, than the first one, and I haven't revisited. I know. But for me, I loved the depiction of the future.
He's not coming
and the
back.
hoverboard. No. I'm not saying that I did. Back to the Future 1, I would get butchered walking out of here. I wouldn't last in any guild ever, I think, if I said that. But with Back to the Future 2, there was an element of whimsy that was added to it, and they were able to, I think, shift away from some elements that make the first one a little problematic. The fact that we're going to make a white guy responsible for Johnny Be Good, some of the elements with the mom and the dad, and the fact the mom wants to sleep with her son. It works for comedic effect, but when you start to actually think about what's happening, it's a little creepy. But with Back to the Future 2, they were able to...
He just has a dirty mind, I think.
If you watch the movie, it's a little weird. It's what creates some of the uncomfortable moments in the film. And I totally get why they work in that first film, but with Back to the Future 2, they were able to move in a different direction.
Yeah,
So it just feels different.
I thought
for
it was a
me-
good exercise in editing, making new scenes to fit the old scenes and how they
Yeah.
worked around the first film. I just thought that was kind of fascinating.
I
But
think-
I don't know, it never pulled me in.
I think technically it was
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
But to me, I watched it and I sat there at the end going, okay, this is the longest coming attractions for what's to happen next that
Yeah.
I've ever seen. And I
yeah.
really did leave that theater going, could have done without it. To me, it didn't really do a whole lot to the story. It was honestly just a long setup for the Wild West in number
Yep.
3.
Yep.
And that was my problem with it. I still love the trilogy, but that one's definitely my least favorite.
Well, and that unfortunately, part 2 has the problem that most middle films do, which is that it's not so much about being its own story, it's about getting everything set up for
Yeah.
that what comes next.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating when that happens. So I do not disagree at all.
Yeah.
Because so much what happens in part 2 is just to get to the end where it's the mailman coming up and, hey, we've had this in our box for however many years.
Now, that was great.
Except for Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
that's true.
And you know, Tim, his favorite of the Back to the Future films was actually the Back to the Future animated series. Oh, no, wasn't that number 5?
No, this
Oh, Back to
has
the
been-
Future 5. I thought it was the animated series that you said you liked. Yeah, that was it. That was it. Well, Tim just also, I don't know if he gave me a finger or what, but he did say, he said we need to go to a break. We need to go to a break and wrap it up. So we're going to go to intermission. We'll come back and talk about more films of 1989 right after this. And we left off with Greg, so we'll pick back up with Douglas, I think. Yeah, we'll pick it back
That's
up
his
with
name,
Douglas.
yeah.
Douglas, Double D, right after this break.
Washington Outreach Ministries is one of the largest emergency food pantry in Cleveland County. We feed about 15,000 people a month. We have bi-weekly distribution every other Friday, and we serve them with all type of product, not just food product, but all type of necessities. Anything that they need, we have here and we can supply it. Food is available every day, but we offer bi-weekly distribution so the mass of Cleveland County can come through and enjoy some of the food products that we have here. And one of the main things that we need that sometimes people don't like to talk about is funding. We do fundraisers. We appreciate donations. Anybody that want to donate time and money, they're welcome.
Good morning. How you doing? Here we go.
Cakes and cookies, toys and gifts. Christmas at your fingertips.
It's the shopping event of the season, the Southern Christmas Show, November 13th through 23rd at the Park Expo and Conference Center. Experience Santa's workshop, brimming with timeless childhood delights, twinkling lights, and festive cheer. Buy tickets early and save at southernchristmasshow.com.
Let's go to the Southern Christmas Show.
Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on c19.tv.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me in the Movies. Noel T. Mann II here, hanging out with Greg Tillman over there beside camera 1. Also back on Mission Control and hanging out, making sure things are working right. That's Tim Foster on the Tim Cam, hanging out with Elvis Gnomesley, looking over his shoulder, making sure that he's pushing the right buttons. Douglas Davidson back as a guest. We're glad to have you back talking about the films of 1989. And so we left off with Greg talking about Back to the Future 2 when we all chimed in on that. And Douglas Davidson has one from the vault that Greg and I evidently never saw. And I got to hear about this movie.
You know, it's a film that you were talking about Field of Dreams and
Yep.
capturing this moment, going out with your wife, and you saw this film. This is a movie, it's The Wizard. It's a movie that...
It's not The Wizard of Oz.
No, it is not The Wizard of
not
Oz.
The Wiz.
It wishes. It wishes it was any of those things. And going back and revisiting it as an adult, it doesn't really hold up, but there's this emotional connection to it. The Wizard is a film, it's got Fred Savage, Beau Bridges, Christian Slater, who had been on a string of films coming out that year. But The Wizard is basically a story about these three brothers actually, who are dealing with the fallout of a divorce.
Okay.
And one of them doesn't speak, he doesn't talk, and he keeps pointing at this thing in this photo, and he won't discuss it. And Fred Savage takes his younger brother, and they end up running away. And they end up at a video game competition. Because apparently, this kid who doesn't talk, you know, he can hear the bells, he can see the balls go, but he's a wizard when it comes to
Oh, it's the
playing
Pinball
video
Wizard.
games.
Pinball Wizard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So he can play anything and just kills it. So they end up going to a video game competition, and the big moment is when he's one of these final 3 competitors and they get put in front of a game that no one's ever seen before, no one's ever played, and it's Super Mario Brothers 3. And sitting in the theater with my best friend Greg Krebs, 2 of us, these little kids watching this movie, our brains exploded because no one had seen anything about this game before. Now, if you go back and watch the movie, it is pure advertising. You had a problem with the Prince soundtrack in Batman? Yeah. You won't be able to last 5 minutes in this at all.
I don't think I would anyway.
Was it based on the Pinball Wizard?
No, not at all. But you could sort of see where some of those elements.
I thought I knew where we were
because
going.
the kid does talk. The kid does
Oh,
talk.
okay.
And he can see and he
Okay.
can whatever.
right.
But it was just about trying to get this family to communicate with each other while also selling Nintendo products.
Gotcha.
But you talk about that emotional moment.
Yeah.
There's not, as this little kid who played video games, me and my buddy, we were watching. Just what? It was great. It was great.
And you still like the movie, obviously.
It holds a special
mean,
place. It's not that
Yeah.
great in it,
Yeah.
and Tobey Maguire has a very tiny role in
Wow.
it. Yeah, he
Is he
shows
like a
up.
baby?
He's just some little kid in the background at one scene, but you could see him prominently.
Yeah.
But I love it, but
Yeah.
not as a
Film
you've
critic.
got to see it.
Yeah. But
It's
for
a
the place
guilty
it holds for
pleasure.
you.
Oh, absolutely.
Guilty
well,
pleasure?
it's a pleasure. I don't think any movie you love it, you should feel guilty about.
Yeah.
I feel guilty about it.
Well, I will, I'm probably one of the handful of guys that enjoys romantic comedies.
Yeah.
You like them too?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
Absolutely.
so 3
My
of us.
wife goes
all
out
right?
of town, I put one on.
Yeah, and Tim, I think he owns like every romantic comedy out there, right?
You should see him crying at Young and the Restless, even around here.
He's really good, trying a little bit now. Well, for me, in the 80s especially, there were a lot of these teen romantic comedies that really spoke to teenage angst. I call them coming-of-age romantic comedies. Cameron Crowe, John Cusack. Cusack was he was stellar in so many of those.
Oh, yeah.
But the Cameron Crowe, John Cusack Say Anything film was just absolutely amazing. And it's a movie that holds up. And it's a movie that culturally, decades later, is still iconic. And there's scenes when people may not know what the scenes mean when they show up in these movies today with somebody holding a jam box outside of a window or doing that kind of thing. It all goes back to this film, Say Anything, and still love it today. Still one of my favorites. I've owned it in every format that's ever been out there, and still a solid film.
John Cusack may be happy with his career, but he should have had a bigger one. He should
I
have
agree.
been a bigger, should be a bigger star.
I agree.
First time I saw him, and we're going back to '85, another Rob Reiner film, The Sure Thing, which a lot of people haven't seen. It was kind of between Spinal Tap and Princess Bride, I think. Have you seen The Sure Thing? Well, it's kind of a teen version of It Happened One Night.
Yep.
But I love that movie, and he was so good in it.
Yeah.
And he's so good in this one too.
Yeah. We could spend a whole show talking about
Yeah.
Cusack films
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
one of my favorites. Well, it's not on '89, so we're not going to talk about it. so anyway, Say Anything. Highly recommend that.
I'll stick with another romantic comedy that you weren't familiar with. Chances Are. It was not a big hit in the theater. A relatively young Robert Downey Jr., a gorgeous Sybil Shepherd, and Ryan O'Neal, still kind of at slightly past his peak, but everyone was very good in it. It's kind of a reincarnation fantasy rom-com, and there's a lot of twists and turns in it, but everyone's just on their A game in it. It's funny and it's touching from time. There's some real emotion in there too, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on my list.
And
I love
he's
that film.
so funny in it. He's so good in it.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. he's a great actor, and anybody who watched him in Endgame, watch him in Chaplin, you go back and watch him in this, you really get a sense for what he's able to do, all the different things that he's able to do. It's amazing to me, and the career he's had has not been without its problems. But man, just what a talent! What an incredible talent!
Yeah, and in particular, what I love about Robert Downey Jr., just to build off of what you said, is that when you see him in a movie, he's in it. He is as engaged in what he's doing in that moment as any other film. And if you go to Endgame and then you watch Iron Man, you're seeing the same level of performance and commitment. And I am so grateful that he was given that chance in Iron Man because he is an actor who deserved a resurgence.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. What else is on your list?
Well, speaking of resurgences, if you will, and to call it that I think is a misnomer because Keanu Reeves has been working for years. People are really starting to appreciate him. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yep.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cannot talk about 1989 without talking about this
Oh
film.
yeah, it's most excellent.
It is most excellent. I'm going to be number one at the box office when tickets go
Yeah.
on sale for Face the Music. There are definitely aspects about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, particularly in dialogue, that do not hold up.
Yeah.
Just where we are culturally compared to 1989, it just doesn't work. But that ending sequence, when Bill and Ted are giving their history presentation and you've got all of these people and the
Yeah.
energy of it,
Yeah.
you are just rooting for San Dimas.
Yeah,
you are
absolutely.
just rooting for him
Yeah.
the whole way. So you can't talk about 1989 without mentioning Bill and Ted's
And
Excellent
I
Adventure.
think also it's a cultural snapshot. If anybody wants to look at what it was like in the late 80s,
Oh yeah.
that movie captures it. And so I think some films from a historical standpoint are worth watching for that, if nothing else. So yeah, I'm with you on that movie. You had mentioned kind of a sleeper with Chances Are. I'm going to do another one of those romantic comedies. We're not going to get to hardly any of these films that we wanted to today, but I think some that fly under the radar are well worth checking out. Steven Spielberg did a film called Always.
Right.
John Goodman, Holly Hunter was in this.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss. Hepburn, one of her last
It
roles.
was her last film.
And it was a fantasy love story relating to these firefighters that used airplanes to help put out wildfires, and it was just marvelous to me. It was magical. Is probably the best way to describe this film, and it's still one of my favorite romantic comedies that not many people have heard about.
It was a remake, I think.
It was
A 40s film.
Yep, it sure was.
It didn't do big box like Spielberg normally does, but I loved it.
Yeah, and it was a different kind of Spielberg film too, and maybe that was part of it. But we'll each just mention one more before we dive in. We want to make sure we mention.
We haven't mentioned Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, have we? We kind of have to, don't we?
No, but building off of Spielberg, absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect finale to that trilogy, I think. Perfectly cast, perfect tone, unlike Temple of Doom. That was pretty gloomy, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine, but it was nice to return to something that had a little light and a lighter touch to it, maybe. Than,
Last
than
Crusade,
Doom
magnificent,
did.
and Sean Connery was just perfectly
Spot on,
cast
yeah.
for
The
that.
dog.
And so was River Phoenix in his short
I
opening
love River
segments.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Somebody who died well before his time.
Yes.
Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Have to mention Dead Poets
Yeah.
Society. It's a film much like Lean on Me that also came out in '89 that inspired me to want to get into education.
And this one, this came to us from Tim Foster. I would be in trouble if I didn't mention this. And my wife both said that if you don't mention National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
from 1989, that you're in trouble. And so, all these decades later, I don't go a Christmas without watching that movie. So I think we've got enough for another show. So I think we'll come back at some point and do another 1989 films part 2. Thanks for joining us. Greg Tillman over there beside camera 1. We've got Douglas Davidson here hanging out with us, talking about Ghostbusters 2, his favorite film from 1989. That and The Wizard double feature. Well worth everybody sitting and
Just trying to get me kicked out of everything, aren't you?
Can we do that on public domain theater? Are they bad enough to be
Good
on that?
idea. It's a good idea. If you have questions or comments or want to ask us why we didn't mention your favorite film from 1989, info at c19.tv is where you can do that. And also c19.tv online is where you can check out these shows if you're looking for online versions, and you can download the podcast, wg.org. Any final comments, questions, or thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, I think I've dug my own hole.
All right, we will leave you with a movie quote as we always do. This comes from Chances Are. This is particularly for Greg. You know, weirdness, it's not a criminal offense, but if it were, you'd be serving a life sentence. You know, when you dive in and start looking at these quotes, you're like, man, I wish I'd remembered that. I could build a whole book on those things. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, for Noel T. Manning II, everybody else here, that's a wrap.
Hi, I'm Jamie Henderson, Work-Based Learning Coordinator at Cleveland Community College. Thank you for watching C19, Cleveland County's hometown channel.